Hi, and welcome to JD's Longbox. I'm your host, JD. For this episode, we're taking a look at the 10-part miniseries Superman Lost, published in 2023 and 2024 by DC Comics. Superman was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. The writer was Christopher Priest and Carlo Pagulayan. The pencils were Carlo Pagulayan. The inks were by Jason Pax. The colors were by Jeremy Cox. This story exists outside any current continuity, but it should be noted that Clark Kent, aka Superman, and Lois Lane are married, and Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, is a close friend. At the opening of this miniseries, the Justice League is called away to a conflict over a crashed spaceship. The ship's star drive that utilizes a black hole has malfunctioned, and only Superman can shut it off. However, once he touches the event horizon, his fate is sealed. When he returns to their apartment just hours later, Superman tells Lois that he's been gone for 20 years. From here out, we see a Superman that's out of character from what we're used to. He lays on his bed, he lays on the floor, he stares off into space, and we learn that whatever happened to him during those 20 years has deeply affected him. Through flashbacks, we learn of his journey through space. The quantum singularity propelled him millions of light years from Earth. In this version, Superman can survive in space, but still needs life support. However, even at his top speed, it takes him months to traverse even a solar system. He ends up spending most of his time on a planet that, with its political and religious divides, Superman finds it very similar to Earth, though this planet's sun is dying and its people are doomed. Even with his solar-absorbing suit, the fading sun means that Superman's powers are fading too, and soon he'll be too weak to survive the journey through space to return to Earth. Once meeting an untrained Green Lantern that's just as lost as he is, Superman realizes that if he can find a way home, the Green Lantern of Earth will be able to track this other Lantern's ring, and they'll be able to send help to the dying planet. But once Superman returns to Earth, he realizes that, because of time dilation, the planet that he left must surely be dead. Superman seeks psychological help, while Lois makes a deal with the devil in the form of Lex Luthor. If Superman fails to hunt down the criminal genius and give him the thrashing that he deserves, they all know that Superman may truly be lost. Part 1. Writing. The writing is strong, with a deep emotional story that leaves you asking what happened to Superman. But by the midpoint, the twist had jumped the shark and served to distract from the point that Superman failed to save a planet of people that couldn't put their differences aside if only to save themselves. This gets a 9. Part 2. Pencils. While there is plenty of action, the panels are rarely dynamic. The art style is calm and stoic, not something generally associated with superhero comics, but this isn't an ordinary story. Shapes are clearly defined. Pagulayan shows great imagination with all his props, spaceships, environments, and costumes, specifically Superman's solar suit. This is by far the best redesign of Superman's costume that I've ever seen. The simple white costume with its S-shield expressed in the negative space of the yellow, contrasted with his red cape, is stark and stylized, and actually makes the no-shorts costume work, where previous attempts are a distraction. If this striking suit had been unveiled at the turn of the century instead of the electric Superman, or other attempts to alter his appearance, I think this would be the image we now think of when we think of Superman. It paints a commanding presence, accentuates his solar-based power, and demands to be looked at. This gets a 9.5. Part 3. Inks. The heavy inks and dark shadows add to the emotional weight of this story. Shapes never get lost in the sea of black. Jason Pax knows just where to put the highlights to keep everything separated, and he knows where to leave things open to let the colors do their work. For this reason, I don't think the images would look good in black and white, but overall the inks gets a 9.5. Part 4. Color. The use of color absolutely sets the right mood. When the Justice League is called to action, the colors are bold and heroic, but while Superman is recovering from his 20 years in space, the color palette is cool and gray, as if the life has been drained out of it. Jeremy Cox's color theory, combined with his separation and detail, earns the colors a 10. Overall score. This adds up to a 95%. Final take. This is a very adult story. It doesn't mean that there's anything graphic or anything that would get it an R rating, but the ideas that it deals with, covering human emotion and depression, it is not a fun heroic story. And while I highly recommend this story, I don't recommend it to be your first Superman story. It's powerfully told and kept me captivated, but while reading this, I too felt the cold grip of depression. Superman has always stood for hope, and would never give up or close down on his friends. Ending, while it's supposed to be a happy one, feels bittersweet, as we know that only Superman and some timey-wimey shenanigans could beat depression in just one page turn, and that some part of Clark that can never return is still out there in space, lost. Hope you liked this review. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you're looking for a more fun take on the Man of Steel, then check out my review of World's Finest number 20. And if you're interested in the origin of Superman, then be sure to check out my review of the Superman Sunday Classics. I'm JD, and until next time, this box is closed.